So I would like to place buttons here, right? So we go to a point where this whole object is watertight, is made out of surfaces. Um, I slightly tweak the bottom to make it a little bit more less thick at the bottom. So I would like to place a couple of buttons here. So I will need to create a sketch of how those buttons will look, right? Uh, and I could do this on my top plane. However, I'm gonna say, oh, I do have a sketch here. Let me see what's going on with that sketch. I think there's something weird with it. Yeah, let's just delete this. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start from there. So I'm in the top plane. I'm sketching in my top plane. I exit this, yeah, so that sketch disappears. Okay. So just to create full features. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's my full object. I'm gonna go to top plane, I'm gonna create a sketch. And in this case, I could, so I wanna have my buttons here, I wanna have them as aligned as possible. So I could take this edge to convert entities, and it will not be a completely full circle, or it will not give me the, for example, I will not be able to snap a new circle into the center of it, right? Just because it's not a circle. It looks like it, but it's not, right? So you just gotta be careful with that. So what I'm gonna do here is delete this one at a center point, and what I could do here is just place a center line that will give me a midpoint. That midpoint, I could make my own circle here. In this case, I'm only going to try to make one button here and then just do a circular pattern of it. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to sketch a line here. Actually, I could do a center line here. One there. Click on this line and say, hey, this line is going to be, oh, it's perfect, 135. See, plus 45. See, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So it's 135 degrees. I'm going to leave that line there. Turn it into a solid line, so because it's going to be part of my construction. Then I'm going to take this line, mirror this one about my center line, and then use my trimming tools to get rid of unwanted geometry. Now I could use my circular pattern. I will click on this point, so that's the center, and then just click on all the shapes. The only thing here is I would like to have some spacing in between them. So I'm thinking how to go about this before I do that. Maybe what I could do here is do see an offset of this. goes back to before I trim this lines. Yeah, I could do an offset in that little triangular shape. Say 0.1, maybe slightly smaller. So yeah, my objective here is that I'm gonna have this line being offsetted inwards. So the opposite line of the next button is gonna be somewhere here, right? Because I'm doing a server pattern. So I'm gonna click OK, that's fine. I could take these lines and turn them into construction. So that just stay there for reference. And then again, just trim my shapes. Then I could go to use a circular pattern. And just make sure that I pick this point as my center. Yeah, so for example, like those are the buttons that I would like to create here. So I have a couple of options. I could say features, extruded boss base, from a surface plane, and click there. See if that's work. To see the projection on the sketch and the surface shell, please check that the sketch is completely first. Maybe maybe I could take this. So I think I might need to create a plane. So I'm gonna create a plane based on my top plane. So I want to elevate that sketch a couple of inches upwards. Maybe downwards and see if that resolves the problem, because it was saying that the sketch was intersecting this. So this sketch that I created lives on the top plane, but I could also move it downwards on my feature tree and then click on edit a sketch plane, and that will allow me to move this sketch to the plane that I just created, right? Without me having to delete it or anything like that. So let's see if this one works now. Maybe it needs to be a separated surface. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go to surfaces, offset surface, this one, offset this at 0. I'm gonna hide this one and see if this will work.
Hey, Professor, could you just project on a curve the sketch?
Yeah, I could project it, but then it's gonna be a surface, right? So I'm trying to see if I could create the buttons right away with the solid surface. And the other thing I could do here is I mean, there's so many ways to build the same stuff here, so I think this one could also work. Let's see, 2 millimeters, maybe 3 millimeters. Yeah, it's pretty thick. So there's another method that I could use here. So I will take this sketch, my extrusion. Yep, that looks good, right? So I'm making sure that my surface here is completely encompassing the one below. If I'm not sure of that, I could also do and I want to have these surfaces be large enough so like they encompass the extrusion, because I'm going to trim that or replace the surface. So just to make sure, I could also use this feature. We haven't already used this feature. Is basically an extension. It could create an extension of a surface. So I'm going to click on this edge, expand it at least 3 millimeters. Click OK. Repeat the command here. So basically, I'm creating some trimming tools there. So now I could take this, straight upwards. Try once again if I could do it. Yeah, no, this one. A little bit. What? Wow, I think I have like something weird with this, but this is sketch. Yeah, this sketch for some reason is not allowing me to just do a solid extrusion. It looks like it's open, but it shouldn't be. Looks like it's not closed. Oh, I see why. I'm just gonna close this. That should work. Yeah, so as you can see, like those little, when you start creating a complex shape with the sketches, just make sure that your trims are very clean. There's no little extra pieces of lines, because then you will not get a completely closed surface. Let's try this here. Now I can do something called surface replace. So the way that this feature works is I will click on the surface that I would like to replace, and then click on the replacement, and then we'll start creating the shapes I want, right? See if I could also use all of these ones at the same time. The replace feature requires input of target surfaces. I could also do a Thicken cut. Let's see if that works. Okay. Yeah, that works too. Okay. So in this case, I have extruded the shapes that, or the 3D geometry that will form the buttons, right? I have these two surfaces that I used as an offset just to create what would be the spacing between the buttons, right? So with Thicken cut, what I could do is use these surfaces to actually be thickened and cut through like any material that I have here. See, that's good. Getting rid of what I want. Okay. I could do it again here. Maybe that works. So now I'm just gonna delete the bodies that I don't need in this case, the only ones that I need. Let's see, that one. Have them. So I get the shape of the buttons. Yeah, it took a couple of operations. How about let's try this one. So open up your remote control and let's try to build just the sketch of the buttons. I'm gonna pull out the remote right now. Pretty sure there's a easier way to do this. Yeah, I can also add fillets to So this is another approach for how you can create buttons that are following the contour of the surface. So in this case, I'm going to take my sketch of the layout of the buttons. I created these two surfaces that are offsets of the original one. They created some space in between. And what I could do here is do an extrusion surface. So all these objects go up. Click OK. And then I could use trim surfaces. In this case, if I click in this one as my trimming tool, then I could just go and select all of these ones. Let's see. Oh, that also works. And I could do the same on our trim surface. In this case, I will see if I can select that extrusion surface. Yep, as my trimming tool. Again, I'm trying to go for the least amount of clicks. Let's see, why is this not working? It will not let me select that. See what else can I do here. Let's see what happens. So I'm also gonna select the one at the bottom. This one, get rid of these bodies. Yeah, I still need to do a lot of clicks. I don't like that. Maybe I could also use the sketch. Yeah. And because this sketch is trimming from perspective view, then I'll get that. Yes, there you go. So instead of trimming with the edges of the surface, we can also trim with the sketch itself. That's also a little bit faster. This one, there you go. I'm gonna go back to my sketch, trim surfaces, remove that, and now I have my buttons, right? So in this case, the next step will be to surface need all of these buttons, right? So I create solids, or they could create. Let's see. Let's just start with this one. Merge entities. And then I could start adding fillets on them. So, now we have like one button, and that is a lot of work, just to create those buttons. Maybe this is something that we can also create in KeyShot as well as graphics. In this case, I have these 4 buttons. I will go back to retrain them. Okay, I'm gonna take the. I'm gonna put all of these ones into a folder. New folder. I'm gonna say buttons. So this is just to organize my mess a little bit in Solidworks. So I put all those surfaces into this folder. I'm going to show my full object. And my intent is to join all of these 4 buttons into one underneath this, right? So it looks like they're separated, but there's going to be one silicon pad. So I want to take again this surface, offset surface. I'm going to offset this at 0. And I will hide this again. So now I have the surface. I could do, and this one is very simple. I will do another offset, say 2 millimeters. Okay, that direction. Maybe I could also extend this a little bit. So let's go here. That's the top. Let's see the bottom. The surface. And then slightly want that more. It's a little bit as well. Okay. Okay, so I have that extra meat now. Take this one, offset it again. We have done this before, right? I'm basically going to connect these 2 edges with a lofted surface. Click OK. And then I could say surface knit. Select all these surfaces. I might need to create some trimming here. Let's see. Or not really. I could actually these ones. Take that, and then I actually could take that surface knit, create a solid, create that solid, and go back to my buttons. Show them.
Hey, Professor, what was
Yep.
exercise 8?
Exercise 8 is, I think so. That's from last week, so it should be a remote. As far as like you got with the remote mode last week.
Okay, so just as far as we got, that's pretty much
Yeah.
the assignment.
Yeah.
Okay. And then another question, what was the last day of class?
I believe is the 21st of May.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm taking all these bodies here, creating solids. That one has a gap there. Okay, so I ended up changing this again. So instead of just surface knitting all the little surfaces that make up the buttons, I basically did a thicken for each top surface of the buttons. That also works. Um, just because I didn't want to spend so much time trying to create that, right? So yeah, so you can check the video back to that step. But basically, I'm taking each individual surface here and using the feature thicken. Right, and I'm just thickening this feature. I think it was 2 millimeters. Yeah, 3 millimeters. And that basically creates solid bodies. Then I could take all of these ones and merge it into one. Combine. And now these silicone pad of buttons will be the one that I will be using for rendering, right? So this is the same approach for the buttons that you see, but in a simplified way, just one button at a time. So I created a sketch in my top plane, and then I'm extruding surface this circle upwards, right? I'm gonna click OK. Then the next thing is that I need a cutting tool, right? So in this case, I could use the same surface and use offset surface. And offsetting this any amount of units that I want my button to be, or any amount of units that my desired height for the button will be, right? In this case, let's say 3 millimeters. And I could say trim. Use this as my trimming tool. Get rid of that. And I could also, for example, say, hey, trim this. And that's basically the beginning of that, right? Like if I want to have, for example, let's say that, let's hide the controller. Yeah, so it looks like that. And I could also, trim this as well, or do an offset, extend it. Maybe take this and offset it again. I do a lot of surface offsets. They just work. So let me see, let's do 1 millimeter. I just need to make sure that this surface gets completely in touch with this one. So I'm gonna say 2 millimeters here. Maybe a little bit more. Reaching? No. Wow, I gotta do 5 then. Yep. Have that. I could again trim surfaces. And I would like to trim the stuff in between, right? So I could use this bigger surface, trim this, say okay. And this one is so much simpler, again, because it's only one button, right? Then I could say surface extend for this as well, just so that it almost matches that. And in this case, the only thing that I'm clicking here for surface extending is that edge. I'm gonna say 1 millimeter. So I'd extend that a little bit. Cannot extend surface to geometric constructions. Well, that's fine. I could just, I don't really care. Nobody's gonna see your part. So I could do boundary, I mean lofted surface here. So that completely closes. And then your surface need all of this. Is there anything open? So I might need to surface need this those ones individually. Oh, I see. So maybe I need to do one more trim here using this one. So that it creates that opening there. So I'm gonna do surface trim, take this on my trimming tool, trim the inside. Now I can do a surface here and create solid. Because it's now a whole watertight object. And then you can add your fillets. If we go back to showcase body here.
Thank you.
That was a little bit fast, but you know, create a sketch, extrude it with extruded surfaces, offset any surface that you want that button to match the contour of, and then just try to create a little silicone path. Like have that in your mind, and then it should be pretty simple.
Thank you.
Yep.
So after we finish the button.
Okay. So let's say that I want to build another surface here, similar to this one right here. So what I would do is I'll do my top plane.
Oh, the screen isn't being shared.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to my top plane basically because the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to trim whatever surface I want to get rid of. I'm going to have a clean edge that I could either offset or convert entities with, and then create a surface below. That's the thinking I have. Right? Let's say that I want to create a subsurface in this area. So the first thing that I will do will be to go to my top plane, create a sketch. I'm already sketching. I could take this, for example, and say offset entities, reverse. I just gotta be very careful with the edges. Say okay. Then I could also do, let's see, so everything keeps alignment. So maybe I could take this, say offset entities. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. And I don't have anything here yet. Maybe I'll do it with this one. Use trim. So I'm gonna trim this as sketch. So you see what I'm doing? I'm basically creating the shape of that surface. I gotta be very careful here. There might be something weird. No, that's fine. However, it doesn't really look like a close object. Like it's not shaded inside, so I need to revise this. Let's see, it looks weird. Let's see if it works. First thing that I'm gonna do here is do trim surfaces. This is the surface that I would like to trim. But before I do that, we'll create an offset surface of this one, right? So that this offset is gonna be the subsurface, right? I'm gonna go surface offset. And in this case, it's gonna be downwards. Let's say that's gonna be 2 millimeters. And the surface is there. I can't just see it because it's underneath this or inside this body. Then I could take this sketch, trim surface, trim that surface right there. I do feel very iffy about that sketch. So I'm gonna check my edges. That looks fine. That looks fine. Yeah. Weird. I'm just wondering why I didn't get a completely shaded closer sketch there, but that's okay. It seems it's working. Then the next thing that I will do is go back to my top plane. And in this case, I could say convert entities. This is the same process in a different way. Instead of me offsetting everything, I could create an offset of this one. I'll convert entities of these edges. Then take them for construction and then do offset. Reverse. Maybe 3. Now I'm gonna trim this surface below, right? So I'm creating the gap between the exterior and the subsurface, and that's what's gonna allow me to create a transitional surface in between. So I'm going to go to surfaces again, trim, and just highlight that excess right there, trim that, and now I could start working on how to join these faces. Because these edges are completely sharp, I could, for example, do a, let's see, boundary. And I start connecting all of these surfaces. But I would like to do this in one step as well, just so I don't waste so much time doing this. Let's see, maybe I could do a lofted surface. Selection manager, so I can select multiple edges at the same time. So we'll be hit this one. Click OK. Selection manager again. And I think my first click was somewhere here. So I'm gonna do a second. First click there for this set of edges. Okay. And that looks good. And that's how you would create a surface in between, right? Of course, this one is very rough right now. I don't have any fillets. Maybe I could try to add some constraints here that would allow me. It might not, because there's a lot of, let's see, take that and start constraints. Let's see, maybe it could be tangent. Yeah, no, I just rather add the fillets after this. But yeah, then the next step will be to use a knit surface to combine this with the actual body. And yeah, that's how you do that subsurface in between. I'm gonna click on the surface. I'm gonna say that I want to have a thickness of 1.2 millimeters. Show preview. And it basically shows me a preview of how that shell will look. This one might not work as a smooth. I might need to do a little bit more work to get this one, but I'm gonna see. I'm gonna give it a try. And the reason that this one might not work is because the surface on top has a lot of sharp edges, right? But let's see if this one works. So again, I'm using 1.2 millimeters. Show preview. It seems to work. And now both objects are completely hollow. Other things that I could do as well. For example, I could create the holes for these silicon pads, for the silicon buttons. So in this case, I could use indent. So I'm going to go to Insert Features, Indent. In this case, the target border for the indentation will be this one. And my tool region or the tool body will be this one. Say cut. Then say, hey, let's make these holes a big. So they're slightly bigger, so I'm gonna have a nice little cut out there. Do the same here. This one, for example, this edge looks so ugly. It's that fillet. So I could do Control Save just in case. Go back to edit this fillet. And then apply the same process here. Insert, features, indent. My toolbar region will be this top body. Then this will be my cutting tool or my tool body region, right? Then I could say cut. So it is important that you always click cut. That looks all right. And it also creates the cut for that. Again, I'm going to repeat one more time the way to create the two halves. So I created this sketch, which is convert entities. It's a conversion of this sketch from surface trim 5, which was how I created the trim for that surface extrusion at the beginning of the exercise. I took that sketch and I did convert entities, right? And then with that sketch, I use my feature split. and then I hit the body on top, then use my feature shell in order to create a gap of 1 millimeter. Could also do, probably that should be thicker. Let's do 2 millimeters. Same for this one. I would also do 2 millimeters. And that will be at least the end of the controller at this point. Other things that I could do here to add detail will be to, add fillets here, for example, in this edge. They could be very tiny, even smaller than 1 millimeter. They could be 1.25 millimeters. But that is going to give us a really nice highlight once we get this into KeyShot. So yeah, as you can see, some of the more painstaking steps is adding fillets. In this case, this fillet is not working. My guess is because of that edge right there. So in this case, I'm using my face fillet and see if this one could create the geometry that I need. Yeah. In this case, just the regular continuous fillet didn't work, so I had to use my face fillet to get that edge. Now if I go back to my model, so let's keep working on this remote control, and then on Thursday what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a KeyShot demo with this. And talk more about the next assignment, which will be most likely this as a render. What I'm going to show you on Thursday is how to use composite materials in KeyShot and how can we use them to create complex geometry, such as meshes, like real meshes, labels, which will become very handy once we start doing the eyewear. Any questions?